Hey guys, today we're looking back at some of your favourite entitled parent stories from last year. 9 hours a day, 5 days a week of free babysitting is just a favour, right? Well, that's what OP's sister seems to think. Entitled parents are angry, I won't babysit 5 out of 7 days of the week. Post by, that's nice, I don't care. My brother and sister-in-law, who are both 32, moved back into my parents' home last week. They have 4 young kids, so, of course, what used to be a peaceful house has turned into a chaotic mess, like a literal pigsty. Friday, my brother asked me what my day-to-day schedule was like, so they could get an idea of how babysitting would work. I'm a 19-year-old girl. Obviously, I was like, what the F? Because I never agreed to babysit for anyone. I sat there dumbfounded and asked him to elaborate. Apparently, my dad offered to help them with childcare by using me, despite me having classes to attend, both in person and online. Plus, I work part-time, and no one even bothered to check with me to see if it was okay. I flat out said no. I was not babysitting Monday to Friday, and they would have to work out some other solution. This upset my sister-in-law. She began complaining that I act like I don't love my nephews and nieces because I'm not willing to help them out and take care of them. Again, what the F? My dad got angry and told my mum to make me agree. I just got up and finished my dinner in my room because I was not about to deal with them guilt-tripping me. Later, my brother approached me. He showed me what was basically a weekly schedule that had the hours they worked and the hours I was expected to look after the kids. All 4 of them, because the 6-year-old is homeschooling at the moment. To spare the rest of the boring details, I'd be on duty from 6 AM to 1 PM, and then again from 6 PM to 8 PM, because they want some special alone time. Again, I shut that down and told him I wasn't doing it. Cue sister-in-law telling dad I still won't do it. He came into my room yelling, calling me selfish and lazy, and said that I'd have to come around eventually since they'd be living here for a while. By the way, my dad doesn't even work. My mum does. He sits around all day watching TV, and when she gets home, he doesn't even speak to her until he wants to know what's for dinner. Okay, so 5 days a week, 6 AM to 1 PM, and then again from 6 PM to 8 PM. That's, whoa, that's 9 hours per day, 45 hours per week. This is more than a full-time job, and you're studying and working part-time too? Girl, you're better off moving out at that point. Update. A majority of the comments are telling me to move out, and I'm trying. I'm saving up enough money so I can be set for the first few months that I'm out. Hopefully, I can be moved out by December, maybe sooner. Also, my parents don't have any of my banking info. I closed the account they had access to. And I'm getting a new lock for my door because the one I currently have can easily be picked. I've also seen a few comments about getting my mum away. Truth be told, my dad's family would no doubt harass her to no end. I'll talk to her about it though. She deserves the world and so much more. You're my child. I have the right to poison you. Post by Arkansas. So, I'm allergic to seafood. It's not the anaphylactic type of allergy, thank goodness, so I won't die if I eat some. But I do throw up, have a stomachache, and a massive headache for a few hours afterwards. Enough seafood, and I break out in small red hives all over my arms. My mother didn't believe it, and as a child, I couldn't stand up to her properly. She'd force me to eat stuff with seafood in it to prove that I wasn't allergic, and then ignore me when I was sick. One day she held a dinner party. I was dressed up beautifully and trotted out to parade before all the guests. At the time, I was around 9 years old and precocious for my age, and absolutely fed up with my mum making me sick. So when she held out a fish cutlet for me to eat, I saw my chance. I loudly said, "I can't eat that, I'm allergic to fish." My mum said, "No you're not, just eat it." I said, "I'm allergic, I'll throw up." No Asian mother will ever back down in front of guests for fear of looking like she can't discipline her child. My mother grabbed the fish cutlet and shoved it into my mouth and said in her most firm voice of command, "Eat." So, I ate it. Cut to about 10 minutes later, I went up to my mother and tugged on her sarari to get her attention and said, "I don't feel well." Bluff! I vomited all over her, the expensive carpet, and in full view of all the guests. My mother has a reputation for being a kind, generous, charitable, and very religious woman. So, in front of all the guests, she couldn't do anything, except act sympathetic and send me off to bed to recover. She never made me eat seafood again. I really don't understand why people insist your allergies are made up. Like, why? Who wants that kind of attention? Girls shouldn't win math competitions, so my son should win. Posted by Yummy1756. I'm a high school student and this happened to me in 9th grade. My teacher decided that I should compete in a math competition because she saw potential in me, and I agreed because she was my favourite teacher. I didn't really care that much though, because I was kinda lazy at that time. On the day of the competition, I saw a kid, let's call him Entitled Kid, boasting about how he didn't sleep because he reviewed everything. I was annoyed, but I didn't really think much of it. The results came in, and sure enough, he'd won. But I got 2nd place. I was shocked and happy at the same time, and so was my teacher. Everything was sunshine and rainbows, until I heard this lady, Entitled Mother. Entitled Mother. Good thing that girl didn't win. I was only 2 points behind. This is a math competition. My boy should win. He studied really hard for this, and a girl shouldn't beat him. I was livid. My teacher patted me on the back and told me not to listen to her. When they announced that I was in 2nd place, Entitled Mother started booing. This woman! I couldn't take it, so I devised a plan. This competition happened every year, according to my teacher, and in grade 10, there was a regionals competition afterwards. I swore that I would win next year. The whole year, I taught myself various math equations, and my friend helped me with everything. I spent a whole year reviewing just to prove this Entitled Mother wrong. The next year, I entered the competition, more ready than ever. I saw the boy again, and now even his mother was boasting about he couldn't sleep knowing that he was going to win again, and that he was so excited about going to regionals. Everything she said just encouraged me to do better. The exam was kinda hard, but I managed to answer most of the test questions. While I heard the entitled kid say, "It wasn't that hard." I was not confident that I would win, but I was hoping. The announcements came and they said that only one student got a score of 40 and above in every grade level. Entitled Kid was smirking, thinking it was him, and telling his mother, "Regionals, here we go!" But to his surprise, I won. The look of shock on Entitled Mother and Entitled Kid's face was worth it. They didn't utter a single word. His teacher was just standing there, shocked. I gave them a big smirk and went up on stage, accepting the prize and everything. When I got down from the stage, I saw Entitled Mum crying and saying, "My boy was supposed to win! He was supposed to go to the regionals!" And once I heard her cries of agony, the whole year of study was paid off. I got 2nd place in regional and became friends with the guy in 1st place. Overall, it was a great experience, and I'm glad that I don't have to see Entitled Mother and Entitled Kid again, because there's no math competition in grade 11. Nothing motivates like revenge. I put veggies in all my food to stop my roommate's kid from eating it. Mum threatens legal action. Posted by Veggie Vengeance. I, 26 female, live in a rented house with a single mother, 30 female, and her son, 6 male. I don't mind living with her and her kid, it's fine, and we do our own thing. I spend a lot of time at my boyfriend's place or working anyway. Our work schedules collide, so we don't really interact much, but when we do, it's fine, no issue there. I want to start by saying that she clearly struggles financially, but I don't think that's an excuse. I don't make lots of money either. However, I've noticed that my food would go missing or portions would be taken from it. I assumed it was her kid, so I asked her if she'd stop him from eating my food. I was calm about it and she said that she would. It didn't really bother me at first, but it started getting annoying when I get home from work and expect to have a meal's worth of leftovers in the fridge, only to see it'd been picked through or just gone. I kept bringing it up and she started getting annoyed with me for bringing it up. Just from observing them, I realised that neither of them ever eat vegetables. And judging by the food that would get picked through and the food that would be untouched, anything with green in it was avoided. Orange chicken would be gone, but chicken and broccolini would be untouched. So, I started putting vegetables in everything. I find vegetables to be delicious, and anything green or not a potato doesn't get eaten. So I can mix some bell peppers into the food and it'd be fine. I make a big portion of vegetables pretty frequently anyway, so I just started putting in all my meals. If I had leftover mashed potatoes, I'd pour in green beans and mix it up. If I had leftover cheesy bacon fries, I'd pour broccolini all over it and mix it in. Usually my homemade stuff has vegetables in it, but I started making sure that everything did. I made a pot of mac and cheese, the kids' favourite thing, and poured in roasted Brussels sprouts, which is actually delicious to me, and I'm eating more vegetables, so it's a win-win. She seemed annoyed, but we were all home when I made the pot of mac and cheese. She was in the living room and saw me get out the Brussels sprouts and was like, "What are you doing with that?" And I poured them in. She said I was being greedy and annoying, and I just said, "I like Brussels sprouts," and that was it. She said, "We need food," and I told her to go get some, or stop buying only pre-packaged things and your money will go further. I think she sees this as some big act of revenge, but I just simply want to be able to eat my food. Also, I want to add, the sharing isn't the issue, it's the expecting to have food there, and it's not. So often, I'd be working a long day and get home expecting to have a meal's worth of food, and it'd all be gone. Or I'd wake up in a rush and had my food ready to eat in the morning, only to find it gone, so now I have to skip breakfast. If she'd simply text and ask, "Hey, is it okay if we eat food item?" I would know and be able to make other plans like stop for food on the way home. Also, I think eating the last of someone else's food is crazy and rude. If someone makes a big pot of something and you ask for a serving, sure. But if someone made something and there's only one serving left and you eat it without permission, that's evil as hell. Update. So, I've been steadfast with putting vegetables in everything. I've put vegetables in things I've never even thought of. This has carried on and the mum calls me a jerk but will not verbalise that she's eating my food. She just sees me making a lasagna and adding celery and bell peppers to the layers and fumes off to the side. The only thing I can't add vegetables to is snacks like chips or if I bake brownies or cookies. However, this is easily remedied by putting baked goods in a Tupperware and keeping them in my room. Same with chips. As I previously stated, the sharing isn't the issue. Recently, the kid knocked on my door and asked if he could have a bag of microwave popcorn. I said yes and gave him one. All of this would be way less annoying if she'd just text saying, "Hey, can I have some of this?" and then wait for my response before just helping herself. I do feel for the mum because she clearly struggles with cooking and trying new foods. She's older than me and winces at the thought of biting into anything green and it's spreading to her kid, but that's not an excuse. A few days ago, I was making taco meat out of ground beef and, like usual, she was looking without looking. She was off to the side, watching my every move, but trying to look normal. I had made a dish the day before that involved sauteed mushrooms and cut up peppers. So when the meat was almost ready, I opened the fridge and she freaked when she saw me holding the mushrooms. She said, "Son's name hates mushrooms!" And I just poured them into the pan and mixed them in along with the cut up peppers. This caused her to react in a way I've never seen from her before. She was yelling and stomping around the kitchen, while the kid just watched. I felt bad for the kid to have to see his mum like that. People were worried about her tampering with my food. I don't think she's the kind to do that, but if she did, I would report that right away. She was flipping out, but she didn't snatch my food or knock anything over. She was opening and slamming cabinets. It was all very silly. Then she started going off about how she's going to get the authorities involved. I just told her, sure, and that she needs to relax. She seemed genuinely upset and stressed, and I told her that I understand being a single mum is hard, but she needs to use her government assistance more responsibly. She'll come home with cold mac and cheese, sushi and chicken from the grocery store, prepared foods, and blow all of it on that. I suggested food pantries and buy ingredients that last a while, like potatoes. She said I was being condescending and I always have food to eat. To address the just portion your food and set it aside for her and the kid, I do not make enough money to regularly feed 2 other people. If every now and again she asked for some of my leftovers, sure, but this was a consistent thing that was happening. It's not as simple as giving her leftovers that I won't eat anyway. If I make a pot of something, I expect to live off that for the next few days. If they eat it, then my money's messed up and I have to go shopping again and budget for more food. Waste my time and money. The audacity of threatening to call the cops. Like, what was she gonna say? My roommate won't let me steal from her. Come Come arrest her! Am I the a-hole for asking my mum to leave because she won't stop wasting my food? Posted by OK Lavishness 3277. My little sister just had a baby, and our mum came to help. My sister and her husband live in a tiny apartment with no room for my mum, so I agreed to let her stay with me since I only live 8 blocks away. It's walkable. My plan was to Uber her over in the morning and pick her up after work. I only eat 1 meal per day during the week. Supper. I have coffee for breakfast and some fruit for lunch. On Saturdays, I treat myself to a good breakfast, and Sundays, I take my girlfriend for brunch. My mother decided that this was unacceptable. She got up early and went through my fridge and freezer to make me breakfast. I told her that I appreciate it, but I don't usually eat breakfast. She said that was stupid. I very clearly communicated to her that she was welcome to eat anything in my home, but to please not make me breakfast, as it's a waste. She again made me breakfast the following day. I walked out without eating it. I figured, worst case scenario, I could eat it for supper. But she threw it out since I didn't eat it. I told her once more to please not waste my food. She made breakfast for me again the next day. I asked her if she was developing dementia. She keeps wasting my food for no good reason. I'm not poor or anything, but wasting food is a pet peeve of mine. She said I was being ungrateful for her help, and she was doing it to be nice since I was letting her stay with me. I explained to her again that I did not need, want, require, or desire breakfast during the week. She said she understood. She made breakfast for me the next day. I'd had enough. I took her luggage with me and dropped her off at my sister's home. I told my doorman that my guest was no longer welcome. I got a ton of messages from her and my sister all day long. If my dad called to ask me to change my mind, I said no. He had to drive up and rent an Airbnb close to my sister because my mum was too scared to stay by herself. He's retired, so he didn't miss work or anything. My sister came over alone to talk to me. She said I was being a complete jerk and that I could afford the food my mum was wasting. I said I could, but I didn't want to. She literally threw out 2 months worth of my food. For example, I keep all my bacon in individual servings. She thought out 3 for every breakfast, 1 for her and 2 for me. And I ate 0. My father has asked me to let her back in. I said I would, under the condition that she understood that my food is completely off limits to her. She can pay for her own food and I'd make room for her in the fridge and freezer. She said I was being ridiculous and petty. So my dad is staying neutral, but my mum and sister think I'm being a jerk. My girlfriend thinks the whole thing is hilarious and refuses to get involved. Down in the comments, Pendragon says, "Sounds more like your mum was initiating a power play and should have continued wasting your food, which she knew bothered you, but that was a point, until you capitulated. Then she would have won. You throwing her out was inconvenient, so of course you had to be the bad guy. But that wouldn't have been necessary if your mother had been the least bit reasonable." People tend to take the easier route. Asking a reasonable person to capitulate is much easier than asking an unreasonable person to be reasonable. Yeah, if she genuinely wanted to do something nice for you, she'd have stopped after she realized it bothered you. Instead, she tried to strong-arm you into eating her idea of a proper breakfast, or she'd keep wasting your food. You should tell your mum and sister that good guests don't try and control their host's eating habits or throw out their things. That's pretty basic manners. The Karen of my building told me that her keycard isn't working, demanded that I fix her keycard, so I did. Posted by I'm the one who. This just happened 5 minutes ago, and I think it's hilarious. I'm the facility manager for my building. Everything that happens or goes wrong is my responsibility, so I make sure everything runs smoothly. My boss has made it clear, it's my building, and I was hired to not only keep the people in line, but to run everything. I'm not a dick, but I do hold people accountable. Forcibly, but politely. There was no facility manager for a long time before I came along, and both clients and employees ran amok with no order. In the 4 months since I've been here, my boss has praised my performance and has gone to bat for me countless times. She's the best boss I've ever had. I've got a firm but fair approach, and my reputation reflects that. I've got a Karen in the building, and trust me, the name stereotype applies. She's just a counsellor for family services and has nothing to do with our group. She likes to complain about everything and gives my boss a headache almost daily. She shares an office with another woman who, unfortunately, is picking up on a Karen tendencies, a Karen in training. I've been doing a keycard order all week and I knew to leave Karen's keycard alone because she's the only Karen in the building, so her name stands out. I'm missing about 75 keycards, former employees, all having door access and dating back to 2015. Can't have that, so I deleted a lot of them, especially if it had a wacky name or just a room number. However, I did delete Karen in Training's card information because it wasn't under her name. She just came to tell me that a keycard wasn't working, and Karen happened to be passing by and overheard it. I fixed Karen in Training's keycard and we went to check to see if it worked or not. We found Karen outside the office waiting, complained to my boss that her keycard didn't work either. Karen wandered away and my boss rolled her eyes and I smiled and told her I'll take care of it. After checking to make sure Karen in Training's keycard worked, I went downstairs to check the system. I looked up Karen and wouldn't you know, her keycard was completely fine. In fact, it showed that she had a master keycard. So, I changed all her permissions and limited her back to just her room only. I went upstairs and got my boss's attention because her office is right next to the ladies, and I mouthed, "Listen," and pointed. I opened their door and was all, "Hey Karen, I went and checked your keycard in the system. Everything is good to go. In fact, it said you had a master key to the building, and per company orders, since you're not a contractor or a company employee, I can't give you that access. So I had to revoke your status to just this room only. Can't have you bugging people on official business, wink. Thanks for bringing your keycard to my attention." She started to object that she needed the master keycard because of XYZ, and I was all, "Yeah, sorry, maybe before, but I'm the facility manager, and you don't need access to everything except this office. And if you do, it's outside your pay grade, so you'll have to come get me. Okay, cool, thanks. Bye." And then just closed the door on her mid-sentence. My boss was quietly laughing her butt off in her office and gave me an air high five. Edit. Karen isn't staff. She's just renting an office. She has no business having access to our materials, supplies, or workspaces. Down in the comments, Empathetic Teddy Bear says, "In IT, we have a saying, all is known. We have the ability to see everything you're up to, so be careful with your demands/complaints. Friend is a bridezilla, yay! Posted by Fandom Lover 101. One of my friends is planning her wedding, or rather, she expects me to plan her engagement announcement party, her bridesmaid announcement luncheon, her bachelorette party, and the wedding ceremony and the reception. She also expects me to contribute financially, all while not attending the wedding because, and I quote, "My fiancé used to have a crush on you, and I don't want him to be tempted to run away with you. Can you imagine the embarrassment of being left for you? Ha ha ha! What?" Summing up the rest of the convo, I told her off and questioned how she can make demands like that to someone who she clearly doesn't respect. She said that I planned one of my aunt's weddings, and I both planned and funded a friend's baby shower. This was my best friend since elementary school, and she has no family willing or able to support her. This was me making it clear that I'd be there for her and her child as godmother. I don't get it. This particular person has always rubbed me wrong, but was always in the friend group. Her fiancé is genuinely kind and always talks on how she's not that bad. When you have to say they're not that bad, maybe they are. But are you seriously not entitled when you want someone else to plan an event, partially fund it, and not attend because you're insecure? She's still texting me potential venues right now, as if I didn't just tell her off and hang up on her 10 minutes ago. Oh my god, the audacity! Update. Talked to the fiancé and he's getting off work soon. We're gonna meet up at a mutual friend's place. I already texted that mutual some of the screenshots, and she's trying to see what she can get from Bridezilla. Hopefully, whatever is shared will be helpful. Bridezilla allegedly plays her entitlement and dislike of me off as a joke, and that's why most of our mutual friends laugh at it. Don't see how that's even remotely funny, but whatever. Gonna meet up in half an hour or so. Update 2. The night and early morning has been spent spamming the friend group chat with screenshots of delusion and anger. So, to update everyone that asked for one, I met up with a fiance, who I'm gonna call Ryan, and a mutual, Rachel, around 11 PM at Rachel's place. I noticed that someone said it seems like I'm into him, and I want to clarify that I've been friends with him since high school freshman year. He's someone I care greatly for, and someone who's been through a lot in regards to bad families and poor examples of healthy relationships. The way I treat him is the way I treat my best friend Kim, the one that I'm godmother for. This meeting could have gone south quickly, but I'm glad I involved another friend. I showed him the text first and told him about the call. I explained to both him and Rachel that everyone laughing when Bridezilla does things like that to hurt my feelings contributes to her thinking it's okay. I'm the go-to friend, all reliable, who supposedly never says no. And yeah, I help who I can, but I'm no doormat. Ryan was confused about the crush thing and fixated on that. He didn't want to acknowledge anything else at first. He eventually just cried, and Rachel took over by telling him that she's also been texting Bridezilla, and the way she speaks about me when she thinks she has a fellow anti-OP isn't cool nor healthy. Some of her texts from Bridezilla were awful, most about me getting Baker acted in high school. One that Rachel wanted us both to see was a list of female mutuals not allowed to attend or have any contact post-wedding because Ryan called them pretty, but I'm the only one pretty in his life, Lamau. I asked Ryan permission to blow it up, i.e. if he was okay with me sharing everything in our main circle of friends. Honestly, I didn't want to put him in a worse spot, but I already know Bridezilla was getting upset that I wasn't responding to her. Her texts were getting extremely nasty, and I'm glad I hadn't blocked her yet. He said yes, and I, a Samsung user, took the long screenshots and started spamming the group chat with them. No warning, no context. I started with the only text I sent her. No, I won't plan and fund your wedding and be disrespected while doing it. I get that we're not actually friends, but you don't speak to people like that and still think they'll do anything for you. I blocked Bridezilla right after this. Rachel hasn't shared her screenshots yet, but things have been interesting. Bridezilla is sending messages through others about me not taking a joke well, but the ones passing it on are saying they're very sorry for how they've gone along with that behaviour. I've blocked them too, at least temporarily, because why are you passing along her text of what she wants to say to me when I told you I'm done and I don't want anything more to do with her? Yeah, literally. Is that normal friend behaviour? I'm seriously asking at this point. As of now, it's 9-something in the morning, and I have more people to send my copy-paste of, I'm temporarily blocking you as I want nothing to do with Bridezilla, and blocking them. Ryan has apparently sent her a text saying to keep the ring and blocked her. Rachel hasn't blocked her and is on some multi-way call with her. Apparently she's a mess, and it's all my fault. Of course it is. Boo-hoo, don't start drama and there won't be drama. Rachel says she's gonna play both ends and blow things up worse than they are. She genuinely wants to weed out the bad friends and says she's noticed a lot of people that are considered friends when they shouldn't be. Anyways, thanks for all the comments, support and advice on my first post. My first method definitely would have caused way more drama, i.e. meeting Ryan alone in any capacity. And I really hope the steal her fiancé comments were jokes. I can't bring myself to do that to Ryan when I'm pretty sure I'm aromantic at this point. I also looked into the suggested petty revenge sub, and yeah, it'd be hilarious to see Bridezilla's meltdown, but not worth hurting one of my besties. Edit for Rachel and the scheming. Her wording was stirring the pot and weeding out the poop, which I initially took wrong. She clarified that when I left, Bridezilla added more people to the call, and she realised that some of the friends I've dropped everything to help out of a bad situation have the same view of me that Bridezilla has, and also have poor views of Ryan. I might give a better update later, but right now, my feelings are genuinely hurt, and I'm contemplating making their lives hell. I don't like these thoughts, so no contact it is. Update 3. As one commenter predicted, Bridezilla latched onto the not invited part of her comments and made it seem like that was my issue with her. Her angle is that I'm upset that I wasn't invited, and that's why I'm sabotaging her and Ryan. She's telling everyone willing to listen that she felt that Ryan values me above her, so that's why she initially didn't want me there. She's saying she'll invite me if I talk Ryan out of leaving her and let her pick my outfit. I've allowed a lot of toxic behavior around me, even when I cut my mother off for a lot of the same behaviors. I feel dumb, to be honest, like really dumb, close to tears. There are, in fact, people I need to cut off. Surprisingly though, it's a small number, 4 of the 15 in our main group. These are people who have admitted to 1. Inviting me to concerts and parties so they have a ride. 2. Asking me to join trips so they have a mum to take care of things that they would forget. 3. Asking me to be a godparent because of how I treat Kim's kid. Paying for trips, buying random gifts, babysitting just to hang out, and having a room at my place just for them. 4. Setting me up on dates so I'd have a doubles partner. On the room thing, because Bridezilla's entitlement didn't just magically poof away. Apparently, I meant to give that room to her hypothetical kid. Like, take it from my godson and give it to her kids. She thinks that because of how Ryan and I became friends, that means I should value my friendship with him above Kim, thus entitling her hypothetical kids to more. It's such a weird notion to me. The way I met Ryan was through a group grief counselling, but I don't think that friends have different worths the way that she and others described it. The friends who pass along the messages have been unblocked. I talked to them, and like another commenter suggested, they were sending screenshots because they themselves didn't realise they were allowing her to get away with stuff like that for years and were genuinely sorry. I told them I allowed it too, so I can't really be mad at them at this point. When I've said I don't like something, these are people who would stop it immediately. I should have said something earlier instead of ignoring it because Bridezilla was their friend and Ryan's girlfriend. I don't know if that makes it okay, but I'm gonna let it go. I glossed over Ryan telling Bridezilla to keep the ring and blocking her. As someone pointed out, there was much more said, some of which is not safe for work. There were things being shared to Rachel that he confided in Bridezilla about, but not in Rachel or I. Rachel didn't show me, and I didn't ask to be shown either. But that's what made Ryan stop fixating on Bridezilla saying he had a crush, and why he just cried for most of our meeting. I personally didn't see these texts, but Ryan told me what they were about, and he's unsure about what to do, beyond cutting things off. Again, he's not good with confrontation, but he's been working on that. He just knows he can't be a Bridezilla anymore, nor can he keep the she's not that bad mindset. He's also not comfortable, nor ready to speak to her directly about what she did. Rachel's also admitted that she wants to air out all of Bridezilla's business. Things I didn't know about and truly don't want to be told about. It's just been hinted at being potentially career-ending for Bridezilla. She's in nursing and could lose her license, according to Rachel. I'm not cutting her off, but I've told her I don't even think what we did in sharing the screenshots with everyone was the right thing. It's this morally grey area that I'm still trying to understand from her perspective and reconcile with my own morals. I love Rachel, but I don't want anything to do with Bridezilla, and those have cut off officially for my own mental health. The nuke option might end in far worse fallout than right now. I don't think I can handle that level of drama, and I don't think Ryan can either. Rachel's nuke option involves posting everything online. I suggested she does it anonymously, so she doesn't face any backlash or retaliation for it. She's taking that route instead, so Bridezilla might lose her job and license. I don't bank on the downfall of others, but the email I helped Rachel draft isn't kind. No abuse or negligence of a patient, but a lot of HIPAA violations in regards to patient information, medical equipment, and medication. I get OP feels bad for sharing all those screenshotted messages, but honestly, I don't think it's that morally grey. She's just bringing Bridezilla's treatment of her out into the light, so she can't keep manipulating people. I demand to be put in a seat that's able to recline. Posted by Earthshaker495. A few years ago, I was on a flight from LA to Singapore. Takes 16 plus hours. I'm a tall dude, around 6'3", so I don't fit very well into economy class seats. On most planes, my knees are very often right up against the seat in front of me. This makes it impossible for the person in front of me to recline their seat, which usually isn't a problem once the person in front sees how cramped I am in those tiny seats. However, for this particular flight, the man in front was not having it. He tried to recline his seat, but couldn't because my legs were there. He turns around, sees what's happening, and asks me, "Do you mind letting me put my seat back?" I respond with, "I wish I could, but I physically can't. I'll do my best to give you as much space as I can, but it won't be much." At this point, he starts getting angry and just starts pushing as hard as he can on the back of his seat. Needless to say, this was not particularly pleasant for me. I ask him to please stop, and he says, "I'll stop when I can put my seat back." I decide I'll just wait him out. He'll eventually get tired. After about 10 to 15 minutes of this, he calls the flight attendant over and proceeds to demand a new seat. The flight attendant tells him there's no available seats and he'll have to deal with it. He then demands to speak to the pilot. So the flight attendant goes up front to talk to the cockpit. Keep in mind that throughout all of this, he's still pressing with all of his might against my knees, with only short breaks to yell at the flight attendant. After a couple of minutes, the co-pilot, he wanted to speak to the pilot, so wasn't happy about this, comes back and tries to explain to the man that he can't change seats because there's no other coach seats free. The man continues to demand a seat that's able to recline. "Give me an upgrade, this is unacceptable," making a scene, etc. The co-pilot finally gives in and says, while looking at the man, "Sir, would you like to sit up in business class?" The man stands up and mutters, "Effing finally!" To which the co-pilot responds, "Sir, sit down. I wasn't talking to you." He turns to me and repeats, "How would you like a seat in business class?" I have, to this day, never seen someone as furious as this man was as I walked past him to my new business class seat with free drinks. Entitled Mum expects a complete stranger to watch her kid. Posted by Pain Sonoma. So, this is a weird one. Not my story, but a friend who messaged me right after it happened to vent. Cause, what the hell? So, Karen moved into the apartment next to my friend's a couple weeks ago. Karen has struck up short, polite conversations with my friend just 2 times in that period, with the second being yesterday, the day before this whole fiasco unfolded. This morning, about 9 AM, while my friend was having a nice Saturday breakfast, someone started aggressively banging on her front door. When my friend answered, Karen was standing there with a 5-year-old girl who had a little backpack on. Sounding very flustered, Karen said she was sorry to have to ask this with no notice, but could my friend please watch her kid for a few hours? Because Karen had somewhere really important to be. Now, something you need to know about my friend is that she can't stand kids and has no idea how to deal with them. Like, she tenses up and gets super awkward if a kid so much as waves at her in a supermarket. My friend is also disabled. She uses a motorized wheelchair sometimes, or a walking cane for short distances, or when she's just pottering around her own home. She lives with a girlfriend who's also her carer. Her chronic illness involves fainting spells and a lot of brain fog, so by her own account, she's absolutely not someone who should be left in charge of a child. Karen has seen my friend using both her wheelchair and her cane, and has seen her girlfriend, who was at work when all this happened, helping her in and out of their car. So my friend responded with a firm no, explaining that her medical conditions meant that the child wouldn't be safe in her care, and that she's not well enough at the moment to have any guests, let alone an unattended child in her home. Karen immediately flipped from pleading and simpering to hand-on-hip indignation, accusing my friend of faking her disabilities because, of course, if she can walk at all, then she obviously doesn't need a wheelchair, right? And threatened to report her to Centrelink, welfare, if my friend didn't watch the kid for her. Never mind the fact that my friend isn't on welfare. Her girlfriend has a high-paying job, and my friend works somewhere between part-time and full-time hours from home. She's a goddamn machine, and I don't know how she manages it. Newsflash, not all disabled people are unable to work. Although, of course, getting employers to actually hire us is another matter, cause ableism. So my friend basically said, I'm not on Centrelink, and I don't appreciate being blackmailed. Find another babysitter, because I'm not it, and close her door. Karen kept banging on the door for a bit, but eventually left. About 20 minutes later, my friend heard a very faint, timid tapping on her front door. She said if she hadn't been so close, she probably wouldn't have heard it. She sighed heavily, having kinda already guessed what was happening. She opened the door, and there was Karen's child, who'd clearly been crying, clutching the shoulder straps of her little backpack. She said very softly, "Mummy said I could stay here today." Now, like I said, my friend cannot stand kids, but even she said that this kid was an absolute darling throughout this entire fiasco, and the most she ever did was cry, because her mother is clearly a goddamn monster. Karen had driven off and sent her child to my friend's door, clearly thinking that if she left her with no alternative, she'd just have to play along and babysit her child for her anyway, especially since my friend had literally no way of contacting Karen. Wrong. My friend had escaped abusive parents at a young age, and this stuff made her furious. She got the child settled in front of the TV with a drink and some snacks and called the police. Yeah, my neighbor just abandoned her 5-year-old daughter outside her apartment, and the kids showed up at my door, asking to come in. When the officers arrived, my friend told them the full story, and while they were appalled, she said they weren't surprised. One said, "You'd be shocked about how not rare this kind of thing is." Which, honestly, is kind of the worst part of all of this. The officers took Karen's child with them and were really sweet with her, explaining that she wasn't in any kind of trouble and had done the right thing, and they were there to look after her and find out where her mummy had gone. My friend found out later they were able to contact the child's father, who's currently finalizing a divorce from Karen, and was also appalled, but not remotely surprised by what she'd done. He is hoping he gets full custody of the poor child after this. Update. I messaged my friend asking if she had any updates, and oh boy, that's an emphatic yes. This morning, she had another knock on her door, only it was the dad with Karen's child in tow. He went there to apologize for what his ex had done, and so that he and his kid could thank my friend for looking after her and for calling the police. She said he seemed like a really good guy who was clearly putting his kid first in all of this, which was really reassuring to hear. According to his lawyer, her calling the police and handling everything the way she had basically gift-wrapped the custody win for him, because what the F kind of court would ever grant Karen custody after the stunt she'd pulled? His lawyer was over the moon when the dad called him. My friend also asked the dad what the F was so important that Karen had abandoned her own daughter over it. You guys ready for this? It's so goddamn cliche. It was an appointment at the nail salon. She'd brought the kid several times previously and just demanded that the staff babysit her and refused to even acknowledge the kid during her me time. When she'd called yesterday morning to book a last-minute appointment because Karen's, the staff put their foot down and told her she could no longer bring her child to her appointments and would be refused service if she did. The dad also said that Karen had shown up so late to the appointment that they'd refused to see her anyway, again, cause Karen's. So she'd abandoned her daughter cause she wanted her me time getting her nails done. The dad told my friend that me time is an excuse Karen uses to ignore her kid, basically anytime she feels like it. Do not talk to me during my me time, etc. The dad also asked my friend if she'd be okay to help him with his custody battle. He said he understood that her health wasn't great, and that his lawyer had said that a written statement would be fine. While it probably wasn't essential, since they had the police report, he wanted to have as much evidence on his side as possible, just to be sure. Of course, my friend agreed. Karen hasn't yet shown up at my friend's door to scream at her, so she's thinking that maybe dealing with the police put some actual fear of consequences into her. We shall see. I will, of course, post any further updates I receive. Now, this entitled mum might be a bit crazy, but is she picks the locks to break in while you're in the shower level crazy? Well, that's what this insane girl in the next video does. Click here if you want to see that. Otherwise, thanks for watching.